we're going to move to one of the interesting part of our Congress today, and that's the introductions of a very brilliant Cameroonians who graduates in mechanical engineering in Germany, and who actually have a fantastic career. It's so amazing. I mean, he worked for all the major company you can think of. He works for Falcom Jet, he worked for Mercedes, and now he's the regional director for Boeing. And so he actually sells planes, some of the planes that you're familiar with, whether it's 787. And so he's actually making this thing happening and selling it. So it's a Cameroonian selling plane that we don't ever make in Cameroon, right? So this is what we're talking about, shining. And so I take the pleasure, please welcome Mr. Severin Wandji. So Mr. Severin Wandji is going to give us a little lecture about leadership. It's not, it doesn't happen every day that you find a young man like this who has these achievements. So his part should be a kind of a lesson for all of us. Most of the youngsters here will say, how did he make it? So he's going to tell a little bit more about it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, if I can say so, for the kind introduction. When he said my name, I was actually surprised that he said it right, because he said Severin Wandji. And the reason why I said this is because yesterday at the airport, I was just flying here. Somebody called me Severin Wandji. It's you just take it, right? And in Germany they call me Herr Wandji. And in Japan they call me Wandji-san. So why do I say? I always say you can call me whatever you want, but call me on time for dinner, right? I want to have my food. And on a more serious note, I'm very honored and humbled to be here today, to be part of this program. And thank you, Bonito, for the invitation. And this is quite an honor to be able to be here and give the keynote here. I like to say that this is quite an accomplishment, putting such an event together. And I said, really, this is leadership in motion. Please put your hand together for Bonito and his team. The chairman in the introduction said something that is really, really heavy in responsibility. He said that I'm gonna give the leadership lecture. So let me get the record straight. This is not a lecture. This is a conversation. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to share my experience with you, my leadership experience with you. And when I say leadership experience, it's not because I'm an accomplished leader or that I've managed to understand what leadership is, but it's simply because for me, leadership is a journey. And I've been through that journey. I've encountered a lot of challenges in that journey. And my goal today is to share those challenges with you. Those challenges are mine, but I'm hoping that at the end of our conversation, those challenges are going to be yours. So my goal is to really get those challenges to go from me to you today. So I've prepared a little presentation because I saw that during the last 3 years, the CPS has made it a point to have a keynote on leadership. And in the process of thinking about what we are going to talk about today, I thought to myself, why are they doing that? Why always having this keynote on leadership? Last year it was Joel Nana Conchu. The years before it was Joel Bolanga. And I came up with a simple answer: because leadership matters. Do you agree? Just because leadership matters. And as I was thinking about it, why does leadership matters? This small card that I have in my hand is a card that every Boeing leader has. On one side, it says management model. On the other side, it says leadership model. So Management is not leadership, and leadership is not management. The reason why I show you this card is because even for a big corporation like Boeing, leadership matters. And even something caught my attention. As I was reading this again, something that I had for years. They said, as our leaders grow, Boeing grows. As our leaders grow, Boeing grows. As African leaders grow, Africa grows. As Cameroonian leaders grow, Cameroon grows. So, leadership matters. And because it matters, we should think about it. Again, in the process of trying to, what are we going to talk about today? Leadership. I decided to engage on a journey to understand what is leadership. Right? I see Cyril looking at me like, good luck with that. Because this is something difficult to do. And what I did, I went through a lot of books that were recommended to me by mentors and by leaders that I got to respect. And I came up with 150 slides that I'm going to share with you today. Sorry. You're going to have to sit through 150 slides. But no, that's not true because I gave up after the 50th slide. But what I did was I went through that journey anyway. And because I was challenged to understand, to find a phrase or two that can describe leadership and everything that it encompasses, right? This is something very difficult to do. My last resort is I always turn to my kid. So I ask the question, what do you think leadership is? So let me read you what my son said. My son said, I believe that a leader is someone who helps others overcome problems. I also believe that a leader should also teach instead of using others to accomplish goals. That is a leader. That's what my son wrote. And, we started a discussion about why do you think teaching is exclusive of using others to accomplish goals? That was a big debate. We couldn't close it. So I hope we close it when I get back. So here's what my daughter said. My daughter said, my vision of leadership is someone who has ideas but has the grace to listen to other people's ideas as well. With this one, I didn't even start a discussion because I've never won a debate against that girl. So, you know what I mean. So, to cut the long story short, I'd like to ask you, what do you think leadership is? What do you think leadership is? Just one or two answers. Yes, ma'am. The ability to empower others to achieve goals. Another suggestion? Yes, Stefano? Influence people to get the job done. Okay. So, these are all fair definitions. These are really all fair definitions. But as I was looking further into what is that really, because when you look through the lens of corporate America, leadership means one thing. But if you look through the lens of the philanthropist, leadership means something else. And if you look through your lens, your Cameroonian lens, it may mean something completely different. So because it was really difficult, I decided I'm going to leave it alone because I'm sure that this is a room of very accomplished professionals and quite intimidating, by the way. And I thought, why don't I just share my experience and take you through those challenges that I had over the course of the years and ask you those questions that have been asked, or ask you those questions that I've asked to myself. So I have few slides. I don't know if I'm going to be able to run them myself. If I may get help, that would be very helpful. So I'm going to take you through my leadership journey. So we already talked about what leadership is, and as I was looking through this definition, I realized that one thing always come in mind when we talk about leadership is impact. Please keep that word, keep that thought, impact. Look at all the leaders in history that we've grown to know, to love, or to hate, by the way. Think about Nelson Mandela, the impact he had. Think about Malcolm X, the impact he had. Think about Albertina Sisulu, the impact. Think about Patrice Lumumba, impact. Think about Martin Luther King. Think about Abraham Lincoln. That appeared to me that impact is something that cannot be dissociated with leadership. This is just the final thought I had as I was thinking about this word. If you move to the next slide, please. And then I came across this quote of Nelson Mandela: "It always seems impossible until it's done." Now, coming back to my journey, as many young Cameroonians, when we left the country to go seek advanced education in Germany, what were we dreaming of? Of a better life. We're dreaming of a better life. But it's not always easy. This is a challenging journey. Very challenging. Leaving your country, moving to a different country, a different language, a different culture, and sometimes we have to deal with loneliness, a lot of loneliness, and deal with hate, as we did in the 90s in Germany. But beyond our wildest dream, we succeeded. We graduated. And many of you graduated under the same condition. I know we all went through different tribulations, but we graduated, you succeeded in a country that is not yours. What you did in the process was really learning some of those great strengths that every leader should have. Are you aware of those strengths? Aware of your leadership position today? Not that I asked myself those questions when I graduated, right? I didn't, because I didn't have those thoughts. What was my dream? Graduate, get a job that pays well, and drive a Mercedes. Believe it or not, exactly. So, as I said, I was working for Mercedes, and working in the factory, I saw all those great cars driving by, seeing them. That's your dream. But there is more, there is a stronger call beyond that as a young Cameroonian. You just went through a very difficult exercise that is preparing you for leadership. And every one of you here today has been through such journey. But have you asked yourself ever, what is that strength that I've built in the process of living in Germany, of living in Europe, of traveling to the world, of graduating in the United States? What is that? That's going to make you a better leader. So I didn't ask myself those questions before. But are you conscious of your leadership position? Because that literally put you in a leadership position that you are not aware of. You went through something that somebody in Cameroon didn't go through. So are you conscious of that position? If you are, what are you doing to share your experience? What are you doing to prepare the next generation to succeed where you succeed, or to succeed beyond where you succeeded? So this question, I'm asking those questions myself today as I'm going through my leadership journey. But I didn't ask those questions before. So as you go to the next slide, you're going to realize that, as Jack Welch said, before you're a leader, your only goal is to learn and grow yourself. But after you become a leader, your goal is to grow others. So that's my call. That is the first challenge for you today. Everything you've learned in the process, have you shared that something with somebody else? What have you done with that? So that is the question that comes back to me all the time. And as we were going through this journey, I would say that we grew farther away. I grew farther away from Cameroon. I really did. Because at the beginning, what's happening? Let me share this experience with you. I work in the Mercedes factory, in the Mercedes power plant manufacturing facility in Mannheim. Wonderful facility. Great product. You see raw materials everywhere, great, looking good. You see people walking in a very coordinated manner. You see processes in motion. And I stand there looking at it, and I cried. This is not a joke. I cried. I had tears coming down because I was asking myself, when are we going to have that in our countries? First few years. But as time passed, I grew away from my country. This is the truth. I abandoned those thoughts. I was thinking, whatever, I've learned all those great things here. The country cannot take it. And I became what I call now a chief complaining officer. You know what a chief complaining officer is? Every one of us is capable of that. Every one of us is a chief complaining officer. Because we complain about Africa this, Africa that. Cameroon this, Cameroon that. There's no road, there's no this. People don't talk well, people don't come in time, people don't behave well. There's no money for this. We are all doing that. If you're not doing that, raise your hand. We are all chief complaining officer at some point. That's how I used to call myself. I said, now, I'm a chief complaining officer. I don't believe the country can do anything for me. Until something happened in the journey. That something happened in Japan. When I was working in Japan as expatriate for the Boeing company, I met this executive, and he asked me the question, he said, I understand that you come from Cameroon. I said, yes. And you went to school in Germany? Yes. And now, you work for the Boeing company, and you're here helping us. And I said, yeah. And he asked me the question, what have you done for Cameroon? Next, what have you done for Cameroon? And I said, I smiled. I said, Cameroon didn't send me to Germany. That was my parent. Cameroon didn't help me pay my bills. Cameroon didn't take me to work. I was working and, jobbing and going to school at the same time. Cameroon didn't help me go through all the challenges I went through. The question may be, what has Cameroon done for me? And he said, no, Wandji-san. He said, no, Wandji-san. This is not the question. The question is, what have you done for your country? Because you are associated for that country forever. That country's flow in your vein, in your arteries, like your blood. And he continued by saying, what is your legacy as a Cameroonian? What is your legacy? At the time, I thought, oh, no, I'm too young to think about legacy. That's what we usually say, right? Oh, come on, why are you talking about legacy? I'm only 20-something, I'm only 30-something, I'm only 40-something. Let me talk legacy when I'm 60-something. That is wrong. And that was a wake-up call for me. And I'm asking you the question today as challenge number 2. What is your legacy as a Cameroonian professional? What it is? Have you thought about your legacy? What will people remember when you're gone? This really made me think. I meditated on this for a very long time. Not that I have the answer today, but I'm still meditating on it. And that's why I thought I'm going to bring that challenge to you today. What is your legacy? Please take it home, think about it. But the journey continues, it's not over. Then I thought, I'm going to think about that, what my legacy is. I came back to the United States after living in Japan for 2 years and, helping to build the 787, the Dreamliner. And, went back to Boeing, doing product development, working through multiple things, traveling the world, doing this and that. But I kept thinking about that question, what is my legacy? But I didn't stop complaining. I was still a chief complaining officer. I was still one. And at some point, I decided in the journey that I am going to try to get back to Africa. I really thought about it. I started looking for a job that's going to bring me back to Africa. But again, when you are used to those standards, you're used to some compensation level on some certain things, then you start seeing what Africa has to offer, then you start thinking, maybe that's not the right decision. You have a family to feed. You have kids to send to college. You have a lot of things to do, but then you're thinking, how am I going to do it? But I took another position inside Boeing that was going to take me back to Africa. That's when I became the regional director for business development. I was doing international business development, and I was responsible for all the African countries. And I was working with our customers, with government, with a lot of different institutions to move Boeing forward to move our business forward in Africa. And as I took that position and I was start traveling to Africa a lot, visiting multiple countries, I realized something happened. Just like Joel Nana Control said last year, as you are in those airplanes traveling to Africa, it's not full of African. It's full of European, American, Chinese. It's full of other people. Then I was asking myself, what are those people going to Africa for? I once bought airplane to Luanda. I was the only black sitting there and with other people sitting in business class. And the airplane was full. Not that it was any different in economy, right? I once bought the airplane flying to Addis. It was full of foreigners. When I say foreigner to our continent, they were not born there. You know what they're going there for? They're going there for business. Because the continent is vibrant. And in my adult life, after I left University of Yaoundé, went to university in Germany, I've never walked in Africa. I've never walked in Africa. I've walked on 3 different continents, in Europe, in Asia, in America. I've never walked in Africa. I had no experience in Africa whatsoever. That was my first encounter as a professional with the African continent. You know what I realized? The continent is vibrant. There are a lot of things happening. And nobody in this room today will try to prove me otherwise. Because you cannot. Things are happening. That's what I was saying Malaika earlier. If it's difficult, go to a different country. But it's still, I was complaining about the lack of institution, the rules of law. This is not there, this is not that. What should I do about it? And one day, I was talking about all these things that I'm struggling to do. I want to start a project in Africa. I actually started a project with some of my classmates when I was in business school that was going to help us, bring some dynamic in the entrepreneurship world in Africa. I went in Seattle everywhere. I pitched it to venture capital. I pitched it to venture funds. But you know what they do? Most of the time, if you see a venture fund in the Silicon Valley, they focus on company in the Silicon Valley. If you see a venture fund in Seattle, they focus on company in the Seattle area. But my project, all of my projects were for Africa. They loved it. You know what they said? Sorry, man, we can't give you our money. Then when I look to Africa, how can I do that? Then I start complaining about the cost of capital. You know that. You know that. Capital is in Africa. I start complaining about the cost of capital. And I was talking to my entrepreneurship professor. That's going to bring us to our challenge number 3. I said, this is crazy. I can't get anything done in my own continent. I can't get anything done in my own country. You know what he said? If you don't like it, fix it. That's my challenge number 3. My challenge, that is yours. If you don't like something, fix it. And I say, how? He said, that's your challenge. That's why I came up with the word leadership challenge. He said, this is your challenge. That's what he told me. He said, as a leader that you are, as a leader that you are aspiring to be, this is your challenge. If you don't like it, fix it. Is there anything in Cameroon that you don't like? I'm sure there are a lot of things that you don't like. But you know what you can do? You can fix it. You can fix it. We can talk about it later. We can talk during the question and answer. We can discuss whether we can fix it or not. If you don't like something about Africa, if there's something that is wrong, you can fix it because people did. Then I start thinking about the first word I asked you to remember as we start. What was that? That was impact. Thank you. And then I'm start thinking, okay, if I start fixing things, if I start thinking about all those things I don't like, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to have an impact on my continent. I'm going to have an impact in my country. But again, as we get educated in Europe, we go through corporate America, we always think big. We live in those environments with Microsoft and Google and Facebook. We think about all those big things. We always think huge. But we can start small. We can start small. We can start with one project, with one app, with one web page, with one telecommunication company, with a catering company in America, and then grow it. Then start delivering things to airlines that are flying to Cameroon. We can think beyond our wildest dream. As Mandela said, what did he say? It's always seemed difficult until it is done. But that's not all. And, and I was looking, just meditating through this. I came across this quote of Jack Welch again. I'm a student of Jack Welch. And he said, we have to create a vision that we feel really passionate about it. And I know we are all passionate about our country. We are all passionate to see change. And if you change business leader with whatever you want, with philanthropic leader, with social leaders, with clergy, with everything, as a leader, we have to be passionate about something that we are yearning to accomplish, something that we want to see through. And then I thought, it's too difficult for me. I want to do something in the scale of Microsoft. I want to, maybe let's create the next Boeing or, the next powertrain facility, manufacturing facility in Cameroon, in Yaoundé, or somewhere in Douala. And I said, this is tough, man. And somebody one day told me, one person can make a difference. Because when you think about all those big things, thinking about putting teams together, you keep being disappointed by this, keep being disappointed by that. He said one person can make the difference. I said that's wrong. Because I believe in teamwork. I believe in strong collaboration. I believe in, in team cohesion, in changing ideas in a team and make things go forward. And what happened was, he said, no, one person can make a difference. I couldn't believe it. Until I encountered one person, one Cameroonian that did something that I found great. And that something motivated me. And I became really convinced that really one person can make the difference. And that person is a professor. He teaches at Eastern Washington, Central Washington University. He used to be in Yale's. He's now in Washington State. How did I come across this? I was attending a fundraiser. The reason why I'm bringing this is because of the first word I said to you at the beginning when I was looking into leadership, the word impact. He started this initiative. It comes from a village. If you go to the next slide. And in his village, where he was born and raised, there is no access. There is no hospital. There is no respectable restroom. I'm missing a word for that. And in his village, people were dying from every kind of disease. Malaria, waterborne disease, typhoid, you name it. There was not even a single clinic, not even a nurse. And he thought, I have to do something about it as a child of this village. That is one person. If you go to the next slide, just to show you how things, you can see the numbers, you can see the facts. There are challenges. There are huge challenges. And Blaise could have said, you know what? I'm no Bill Gates. Who am I to tackle malaria? Bill Gates has billions of dollars. He's been trying for years. He's not there yet. And he's going to get there eventually. But who am I to start even thinking about it? Just Blaise? No. It's not going to happen. Who am I to start thinking about fighting waterborne disease or fighting any type of disease? Who am I? Next slide. This is just to show you the challenges. He invited some friend. They went in the village to start this initiative. You see, there's no running water. You wash your hand with the water you find. The next, water. They carry filters. There's no cranes. Those are fancy stuff. We have cranes here carrying stuff. There's no cranes in the village. There's no those beton mixers and no. You remember we grew up doing this, right? If you remember with the wheelbarrows and just, we did that. Last but not least, this image is really powerful to me. When they were in the village, one child got sick. The car cannot get there. The child was so sick. They have to put the kid, in a wheelbarrow and run to the hospital to the city, into the next city. This is in Bawa. It's called Bawa. I don't know the village, but it's called Bawa in West Cameroon. You see, this guy is done with the world. He's been running, carrying the wheelbarrow. He's like, you see how difficult carrying a sick child in a wheelbarrow. You can die only from those. You know what I mean? What's happening here when you get sick? You call 911. You have a fancy car coming with doctors, and you have the first. I don't even want to go there. This is a challenge. This is tough. I'm showing you these images because I believe images are worth 1,000 words. Right? He said, I'm going to go there. Next slide. He said, next to everything else I want to do, I'm going to build a hospital. You see the progress. Small, little, step by step. Right? The engineers in the room, you remember Kaizen? Remember Kaizen? Step by step. Small step at a time. Just do it like that. On next slide, we engineers, we love the numbers. And this is the most powerful slide of anything I can talk about today. Look for yourself. In a matter of 4 years, this is one person having an impact. Just one person. Look at this. Diarrhea disease. Look at the dead. 3 dead. No dead is too little. If it's only 1, it's too much. 3. 2009, 2010 time frame, 0. Look at the sickness. Look at the number of cases. 204 to 4. What does it mean in terms of percentage? You do that. From 204 to 4. Sorry? Here we go. We're talking about one person. This is my challenge. This is your challenge. Next slide. Look at typhoid. How many people has typhoid killed in Cameroon, in Africa? How many people in this room got sick with typhoid? I got sick with typhoid growing up. This is not a good experience. You don't want to have it. If you never had it, I'm telling you, you don't want to have it. We went from 53 to 1 case. What type of percentage are we talking about? Huge. Talking about impact, this is 1 person impact. Just one. Just one. So then I start asking myself a question again. I continue to go there. And what is that I can do? What is my leadership challenge? What is your leadership challenge? What is CPS leadership challenge? In your position in CPS, you are a leader in what you do, bringing Cameroonian professionals together. What is your challenge? Have you thought about the impact that you can have if you put some thought to it, if you put your knowledge, if you put your strength to it? Next slide. Not that I have the answer to these questions, but guys, all I have to say is my leadership challenge is out there. Your leadership challenge is out there. This is my experience, sharing it with you, and just transferring you those challenges that I believe are valid for every Cameroonian professional, for every African professional. What is your legacy? What are you doing to grow the next generation? If you don't like it, fix it. These are lessons of my life that I've learned through my leadership journey. Not that I'm done yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. And I wanted to share those with you. And please, I want you to take those challenges. Those challenges are yours. They are. So, this is all I had for you today. If you go to the next slide, I'm going to leave you with that last quote. We really are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not, it's a habit. If we decide to do it and we do it every day, we're going to get there. I've learned it throughout my career. I try to apply it to my life as much as I can. And this is the quote I want to leave you with. So is leadership. It's not a position. It's not a management career. It's not being VP of a corporation. No. It is a habit. It is how you define yourself. With that, let's move on to the questions. Thank you.
So, thank you, Mr. Wandji, for this outstanding sharing. We were very moved, with some of the examples that you took up there. So, but coming down to earth and yourself and some particular aspect on how you exercise leadership through your organizations, because it's not so obvious for someone coming from Cameroon, going to do the school in Germany, and all of a sudden coming to Buin, and in a very short time that you've experienced to come to this kind of company leadership position that you had. How was it like for you to move up the ranks, in an international company, a so complex company, considering the fact that you had, if I could say that, many other competitors coming from diverse backgrounds? What actually made you distinguish yourself, stand out, to become what you are today, the regional director for Boeing?
Thank you, Gabriel, for the question. And it's a difficult question. As I said, there's no standard formula out there. And remember what I said at the beginning. When we leave our country, we engage in a journey that is not an easy journey. And it actually helps us build character. It helps us build strength. And in the process, we learn a lot of skills that we end up taking for granted. But those are those things that we learn in the process. Those skills that we've learned that give us the competitive edge. So when you look at Boeing, how many people speak 5 languages? The average American speaks 1 language. English and English, right? But when you come from Cameroon speaking French, if you did your homework at the university to learn what you had to learn, you already have an edge. You have an edge. You can leverage that. Then when you go to Germany, learn German, you just add another one. And living in different cultures, working in those cultures, actually give you something that many don't have. Because as you start doing business change as you move from country to country. The corporate philosophy change. You have to be able to adapt to that. And all those little things that you learn in the process. And those things actually give you the edge that you don't know. That's my answer. I wasn't aware of this. Mentors of mine taught me those things. I was nervous doing presentation because, English is not my first language. English is my fourth language, believe it or not. After Bangante, number one, French and German, then I learned English. I never sat in a single English class. I learned English by doing when I moved to the US after winning the green card. So all those things, I was not aware of those things. It is a mentor who was reminding me, relax. You have all these that can be leveraged, right? That's why I asked you the question. When you look back, how can you help those young people realize the potential? Somebody helped me realize my potential. Not that it's complete yet, but that's the journey. That's what gave me the edge. Those little things that we do in the process, extra things that we do in the process. Because there are thousands of engineers out there, thousands of business professionals out there, thousands of lawyers out there, but you need that one thing that gives you the edge. I mentioned challenges today, and which example can I give you? If I got to look in my corporate life, there are a lot of failures. And which failure? I need to share one that is not proprietary, right? Because, because in my business, a lot of things that we do are proprietary for the competitive age. And failure. Is it fair if I talk about the class that I failed? Is it fair if I talk about, and in fact, let me put it this way. I fail to do a lot of things. I failed to get things done that I wanted to get done. I did. In my position, there's one thing that is really critical. This is cross-functional integration in my previous position in business development. Everything I do, I rely on people who are back home. Like, I travel a lot. I'm out there trying to get business done. I rely on people who are left here to get things done. And there was one time where I really failed. I miserably failed to communicate exactly what I thought should be done. And that was a big deal. That was a big deal. Because of the sensitivity of some of the information, I cannot go into deep details, but yes, that was a big deal. And, when we talk about big deals in my company, that can mean billions of dollars. Like, you lose a deal because you made a mistake. That's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. And what I do every day, every single day as a leader, is to recognize my mistakes. It's tough to do, right? Sitting in front of people that you think, I'm above these people. Why should I explain myself? Or walk in your vice president's office and say, sorry, boss, I screwed up. I think my position as a leader has been to recognize my mistake. Leaders have to be bold. Just like we are bold engaging in some difficult project that's going to cost the company millions of dollars and sometimes not going to bring any revenue, we have to be bold in recognizing that here is my mistake. I did it, my bad. This is the way I do things. And people appreciate that. They appreciate that. Because you bring it at a human level. Because, in corporate America, those people are different animals, right? But you bring it at a human level. Say, my bad. I did wrong. I should have done this. Then you analyze it and say, yes, how we do it next. As Mandela said, we fail. We fail a lot. But the problem is not the failure. The problem is how you stand up from that failure and move on. And that's how I deal with those type of failure. But maybe offline I can give you some more detailed example. And again, I'm going to try to remain, to keep all the proprietary information proprietary. Thank you, Stefano-san. Konnichiwa. Genki desu ka? Okay.
Anyway, very glad to be part of this invitation today and also to be part of this information sharing. I think it's very invaluable for those of us who feel that we haven't done much to have an impact and to answer the call. My question to you is, what major obstacles do you face when you travel the continent of Africa trying to sell the white man machine called airplane? Because it's not something we're very used to. Although we like to ride on those things, but how easy it is to get people to buy into your message?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. There's one thing that we do in that business a lot, and corporate America recognizes it. We have strengths and weaknesses. And usually when you have your weaknesses, you try to fix them because you recognize your weakness. And one of those weaknesses is public speaking and storytelling, right? How do you tell your story? When we're complaining about those African leaders who don't get it, how do we tell the story to them? This is a challenge. That has been a challenge since the beginning. You're going to see a president, a prime minister who's responsible of an airline, or the minister of transportation for most of the case. You walk in his office, and you want to behave like you're in corporate America? This is a dignitary, man. Sorry, this is a dignitary of a country, of a sovereign country that need to be respected. Right? This is not a joke. Americans didn't get it. We lost deals. We lost deals. You gotta come? Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Excellency. No. We have to give him the due respect, right? This is our culture. This is our African culture. One thing that I've seen is that number one, get that cultural difference, right? When we went to Japan, I sat through a cultural trainings for hours with my family, all of us. Because you go to business dinners, right? And you take your wife, you take your children. They have to behave accordingly. This is serious stuff. They teach us to grade, how we pass our business card, how we talk to senior executive. This is one thing that when we American, when European, when they went to Africa, they behave like, oh, this is just a minister. It doesn't matter. This guy is a dignitary of a sovereign country. He deserves respect. If you got to sit in his office for hours waiting, you're going to sit there and wait. This is number one. That's an obstacle. That is a big one. That is a really, really big one. And I say this because many of us are going to start to engage in business back home in Africa. You want to see the Minister of Industry? You will fill the audience paper. You sit there like everybody and wait. That's the way business is done there. Okay.